have downsized my life. Everything I did in there.
This is actually not my purse. I carry it. This is actually my purse. This is just stuff.
I have a cousin. We travel with her. She has a big bag like that. All kind of stuff.
I used to have a protein bar.
Yeah. Bottled water. Yep.
I wasn't sure if that would
Oh my goodness. Hey, come on in.
Good morning.
How are you? Yeah, we had just pulled out when we got that test down here. We're like, where are you? Which here is here. So,
And just for the record, I was the first one. I beat Keith.
she did. I said, do I need to take a picture and distribute this? Yeah.
Because I hate getting up. And I have to get up at 5 o'clock to get here at 8 because I have to hit everybody's rush hour. I hit Birmingham, Hoover, Pelham, and Montgomery.
Yeah. So we had you covered. Renee heard that on Renee. She was listening online. So she had sent you an email. She said, I will be there.
She said, I will get there.
So I sent that first to her.
I hate getting up at night. And if I'm honest, I'm not even nice till 10 o'clock. If I'm really honest. When I was
Well, we've never seen that.
it's 10 o'clock when I get there.
So do you schedule anyone before 10?
No, not anymore. Back in the day, I would be at my office at 7:30 because people would want to see me before they go to work. So I would go in at 7:30, and it's hard because if they're talking about something really deep and important,
You're not there 100%. Yeah, I do 9 o'clock now. I just nothing before 10. I'm not going.
I have one client who I see at 9 o'clock, but she's discharging, so I only see her once a month. And
She'll be grateful.
I can work through that. But I also see people late. So my last appointment on Thursdays is usually 7 or 8. But that's my time of day. It's when I do my best work.
6 o'clock is when I have that hours. Yeah.
I'm never at home before 8:30. That's a problem.
Because it's always something to do at home.
When my kids were in sports and stuff, it was kind of dicey. Now I just hope for the best.
Oh, y'all were in this? Yeah. Oh, good.
She's driving around the block. No, not for She's going to Starbucks.
Oh, okay. Now she can find a place to park. It's just
Right, not by the building.
it's like downtown. She could go by the embassy and park for free on the street over there and just hang out, but and get something to eat or something. When is the conference?
I don't know.
Yeah, here we go.
Thank you. I just kind of wanted to be
Madison's not gonna be here today. Pringle, I'm not sure.
Good morning. We'll call this meeting of the Joint Sunset Committee, call it to order. At this time, I would like to ask Senator Carnley if you would lead us in prayer, please.
If you will, join me. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today. Just thank you for this day that we can come and handle the business of the people of Alabama. God, give us wisdom, give us a spirit of cooperation as we work together to do what's in the best interest of these boards. I pray, God, that you would just be with us today, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And at this time, if you would rise, and Representative Rafferty will lead us in the pledge.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ms. Ogden, will you call roll, please?
Senator Carnley?
Here.
Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Elliott?
Here.
Senator Gavan? Senator Stewart? Representative Lamb?
Here.
Representative Pringle? Representative Rafferty?
Here.
Representative Simpson?
Here.
Representative Underwood?
Here.
Representative Wilcox?
Here.
And Senator Kelly.
Here.
8, and we have a quorum.
Okay. Let the record show we have a quorum this morning. This morning, before we get started, we either have a little air conditioning problem this morning, or we have too many politicians in the building. So the air's a little warm, a little hot today. But we're going to proceed. We looked at changing room, but because of all the notices that have gone out, that's just not practical right now. So with that, we'll proceed and kind of give an overview of what we're going to do this morning. We'll have, we've got some hearings where people are going to be speaking. We're going to limit those to 3 minutes unless there's questions from committee members. And then when each board is giving their report, we'll need to keep that to a minimum, I think, today as far as what you say, what you need to say, but let's try to keep that to 3 to 5 minutes if we can. If you can't, you've got a lot of things to cover. We want you to cover what you need to cover. We do ask that when you start, you recognize your board and let them rise. It's important to us when board members come down for their hearing and supporting their board, and that's something we want to make sure and see those board members if they're here. So when you get up to give your report, as the old Dragnet show, I wasn't alive then, but I saw it on the History Channel. This is the facts, ma'am, nothing but the facts, so let's stick to that today. With that, we'll move right on into things this morning. Let's go with the Board of Examiners and Counseling. And if you would, state your name when you come up to give the report and your position.
Good morning, sir. Yes, Keith Warren with the Board of Examiners and Counseling. I'm the director.
All right, proceed, sir. Testimony, you're going to be the only one from your board giving?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Wilcox?
Please place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear that the statements you're about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Please proceed.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'll introduce the 4 of our 7 members. We had 3 that had other obligations that were already planned, so we apologize for that. We have our board chair, Miss Anjanette Robinson from Birmingham, representing the 6th Congressional District. We have Dr. Glenn Hollingsworth, the Vice Chair, representing the 1st Congressional District. We have Cindy Hooper from the 5th Congressional District, and we have Jacques Alston from the 7th Congressional District present with us here today.
Welcome. We're glad you're here today. Thank you.
For the first time in many years, we are in compliance with our congressional district requirement in the statute, and the Alabama Counseling Association. Ms. Emily Rich and Dr. Nicole Driver worked very closely with us to make sure Dr. Driver is our liaison, board liaison for ALCA, so we worked very hard to make sure that we were in compliance finally with the statute for congressional districts. We are very proud of our report. We have no new findings, no findings from the questionnaires. We have only one unresolved finding of the 6 previous ones, which is regarding the contract. The board had completed the RFP process and submitted the recommendation. Due to a protest for another contract and another board, the CPO rejected those for there to be revisions made to the process, the specifications. It was redone. The new RFP closes tomorrow. The board meets October the 6th to review those recommendations and move forward with a new selection. So that's where we are on that finding.
Okay. All right, Mr. Warren. Do you have any other information you want to provide before we open it up to committee members for questions?
No, sir. The board staff and I worked very hard on this report, and we're glad to be here today on our 2-year review, and we're eager and available for questions.
All right. Committee members, questions? Seeing none. Mr. Warren, I appreciate your expediency there, and thank you for your report.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Now we're moving to the Private Investigation Board.
Good morning. Claire Alston. I'm the Executive Director of the Alabama Private Investigation Board.
Okay, and who might be giving comments with your board?
Will Parker.
Okay,
And
all right.
I want to introduce my board chairman, Mr. Charles Knight from Jefferson County, Shelby County, I'm sorry. Mr. Jim Castile, and he is from Shelby County. Mr. Scott Hawk, he's with the Alabama Board of the Lawyer, ABA, and he is from Mobile County. And Daryl Tatum is from Lauderdale County in Florence. He's a speaker's appointment. Mr. Jeff Hammond from Jefferson County as well. And Mr. Ivan Gray is from Midland City in Houston County.
Thank you, members, for being here. At this time, anybody that is going to testify or bring comment today, if you would step up to the podium, put your hand on the Bible for the oath, please.
Do you both swear that the statements you're about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed, Ms. Austin.
Okay, after yesterday's committee meeting and the working session, one thing that I first wanted to bring to your attention was about the invoices that were made and the contract. That is something that really is out of the board's control. That was done once the contract review signs the contract, then the contract review committee then takes it over to the governor's office. They sign it, and then we pick it up. I had called in March about this. I called in June about this, and it got put off to the side or something through the governor's office. They did send it back, retroactive, in July of 25. They signed the contract, and back to September of 2024. And that happened on both contracts for PI and for assisted living. Okay, do you want to go talk about the rest?
Yes. First off, I want to thank the committee. I want to thank you, Dixie, for all your work and your patience with us. You do a wonderful job, and your team does an excellent job. I've said this before, every time they're in office, we learn something different and we learn something new, and hopefully we're able to move forward and fix those issues. So thank you. There was 2 issues. Well, first off, I want to thank our board. We had legislation passed last year that allowed us to get reciprocity with Florida, which is a very big deal for this board because a lot of our complaints were people either coming into Florida or going into Alabama. And this has resolved that issue, and that's a great thing. Second thing is there was 2 reports that 2 of the 4 complaints, I just wanted to address that from the narrative. We went back and looked at that real quickly. One of those complaints, we had sent the complainant 6 letters regarding that complaint. We ran that complaint in conjunction with the judge. The judge found that there was no inappropriate action, and a final letter was sent on July 25th, 2023. The second complaint was something that was posted on social media by somebody that had tried to hire a private investigator, but the investigator would not take the case, and that person filed a complaint with the board because the private investigator didn't take the complaint, and that was her final, or excuse me, that final letter sent was July 17th, 2024. The other thing I just want to highlight is that, our office opens at 7:30 a.m. We have live answer phones. We answer all of our calls that come through. With applications, we turn around applications with 24 hours. When the applications come in, we put them through the process. They go into the testing portal with PSI. Within 24 hours, they can start testing. Once they pass the test and we get the ALEA background report back, along with their licensing fee, then the same day we send out certificates and ID cards. The Austin Group, at no cost to any of our boards, we do PVC plastic color cards for all of our licensees, again, at no cost to the board. We can usually get, depending on how fast ALEA gets this report, which ALEA does a great job, we can usually get a license done in probably 7 days. We're seeing a lot of people calling from Georgia and Tennessee because we have reciprocity with both of those states. There's a log jam in Georgia where it takes 4 to 5 months now to get licenses, and we're seeing folks coming from Georgia trying to get licensed in Alabama in order to practice in Georgia. That doesn't work because the case has to originate Alabama, but that's one of the things that we're seeing. But again, thank you, and thank our board. They do a tremendous job for this industry.
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, we'll open it up to members for questions. Representative?
I appreciate the efficiency there on the licensing, and efficiencies, I think, are something that lacks a lot of time in state government, well, probably all levels of government. So I appreciate the efficiency. We want to get people, in, tested, licensed, and working. And so I appreciate everything you said just then, which is why I want to go back to some of my questions yesterday, which is on page 9 of the report. Back to the process of the rules, of us operating. And so I want to kind of clarify my questions on that. Yesterday is, what I'm wondering is, because that happened for, a couple of years there, and I don't have any reason to think that was your intention to operate without those licensing. And so I just want to dig into the process itself. If you had mentioned documentation, and so in my mind, I'm wondering, did you receive any notification that, hey, we've turned it in, we didn't have something, we did have something, and I'm curious about the process itself. And so that guided my questions yesterday, and why I wanted you to have a chance to answer for that today about how that came to be. And so it's an efficiency question, really, in my mind.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Underwood. As I had mentioned, you have to go through the administrative law. That's done at the LSA, and everything is online, and really your lawyer should handle that for the board. However, we have not had a lawyer that was able to do that or willing to do that. So we've gone through that process, and everything had gone just fine, except after the board had voted on everything. It went through the 6 months review, public comments, all of that. What happened is, after you come back to that, you have to certify that, and that step was not done, the certification. So then that's why we started back over again and done the certification. That was the first set of rules that I had actually done since being in the business. And just for clarifications, as far as the cost and everybody, that was done just for the apprentice license, and that was done because of this Florida reciprocity. And just to let you know, we thought we'd have an ordinate amount, but we only had 20 applicants. It was 20 applicants that were impacted by that rule change.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Wilcox.
I started doing something yesterday, and I've compiled some figures. So basically, with all your cost, per member is $159.47 per member. So is this a labor-intensive board that takes a lot of work, or please explain to me?
Yes,
Why
it's-
that cost seems a little high.
It is a very labor-intensive board, especially with the new apprentice program. There's a lot of paperwork that we process. We take in the application, we put it in the system, we send it off to Aaliyah for the background. We do PSI, which is our online testing. Once they pass that, then it comes back, we review, and then we issue license.
Well, they have to pay, they have to
Once-
pay a $300 to get their license, but we only do that every 2 years.
So it is fairly labor intensive, especially with the new apprentice program. There's a lot of time involved with that because I personally talk to all of them because they need to have an apprentice sponsor, which is somebody that's going to work with them in order to,
Get in the field.
in order for them to get in the field and be a mentor. So we do spend a lot of time with that. That is correct.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I placed at every one of y'all's spot a comparison of all the boards and their costs, just because I think we need to kind of look at what the per member cost is and when we're evaluating. So thank you so much.
If I could
Thank you,
mention
Mr.
one more thing real quick. You know, our total budget was $242,000. Our operating expenses were $110, so we were $131,000 under budget. And our total deposits were $116, which is obviously more than we bring in operating. So I just wanted to let y'all know that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other members have questions? Representative Rafferty.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question regarding, I mean, this isn't anything specific to the report. It's just kind of my own curiosity. And it's, how's the board planning to update regulations to address modern digital surveillance and technology issues, including AI? Or are there any plans to kind of address some of those issues?
We'll let Jim.
Can we let one of our board members address that question? Mr. Castile?
Yes.
He's our vice chairman of the board, Jim Castile.
So with our legislation that we passed recently, it was to bring us up to par with the problems we were having with people operating agencies, things like that, without being licensed and us not having the teeth to go into it. Now, as technology changes, we have issues like that change, that make us have to go towards protecting the public in other ways. Some of the AI things in the surveillance, technical, electronic surveillance, is going to be something that'll have to be addressed in legislation,
Right.
not particular to the private investigative industry, but to protect the public in general. But what we do is we work close in hand with the state association. We have a rare relationship in this state that other states don't have, where the association and the board sync together pretty well. So when we have issues, when we have complaints and we have problems with investigators, we can relate that to the association, and the association can direct their continuing education classes to address those kind of problems with the investigators, to make sure that the investigators are aware of their limitations on certain types of technology, what they can and can't do, what's ethical and what's not ethical. If it comes to a position where it's up to the board to pass legislation to change that, we'll come to you guys and say, we'll find a sponsor and we'll put that legislation together. But until then, if we see something that's a problem for everybody inside and outside of our profession, we'll look at somebody and bring up the suggestion for some legislation as a whole, but not pertaining to the board in particular.
Thank you very much.
All right, any other committee members? One question, why did the administrative services submit invoices for an increased rate without a signed contract?
That's the first thing that I had talked about. It was a sign, that was the one that came in September of 2024, that went through the contract review committee, was delivered to the governor's office.
Okay.
And the governor's legal office, I don't know, it just sat there for a while, and then when we were working with Dixie and working through this whole thing, we said, oh yeah, we don't have this. And so I called the governor's legal office in March, called them again in July about this, then I
So
called.
clarification, basically, it was sitting in the governor's.
Sitting in the governor's legal office,
office.
and they did
Okay.
not sign it until July of 2025. I have had extensive conversations with some of the chief of staffs and people like that in the governor's office, and they said that wouldn't happen again. And I just know that it was signed, when it was signed, it was retroactive. And they also, which I told the examiners as well, they had also said that sometimes the legal office would just call comptrollers and said this contract is fine, and you need to go ahead and pay it, because comptrollers wouldn't have paid that contract. Randy Head and them would have not run that through had it not been okayed by someone.
Yeah, I'd noticed that when it was signed, it was retroactive, so we just wanted to make sure that was very clear to everyone, because I've gotten a number of questions in the last little bit over that, so.
Well, thank you. And since that has happened, and it happened to 2 boards, I have talked to the governor's office in detail about that, and I don't foresee that being a problem in the future with any board's contracts.
All right, thank you, Ms. Austin.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're to the Board of Assisted Living Administrators.
Good morning. Once again, it's Claire Austin, Executive Director for the Board of Assisted Living Administrators. I'd like to bring my chairman up here as well.
Okay.
Jill Benefield, she is from Madison County, Madison, Alabama. She works with SAGE, and she's been on the board for 7 years now.
Okay, will she be testifying?
Yeah.
Okay, if you would, we need to swear her in. You're still under oath, Ms. Austin.
Do you swear that the statements you're about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for your time this morning and letting us appear this morning before you. The very first thing was the item we just talked about with PI, the same thing with the contract. Assisted living and PI contracts both set in the governor's legal office, and that was the same situation that I've already discussed with y'all before. Yep. Okay. Then another significant issue, which is that we talked about yesterday. Representative Pringle talked about this, and I discussed this with Gavan about having to wait so long to get board members appointed to this board. That is done through the association, and I think that there's some people are interested in looking to maybe change that legislatively. And like I said, 5 years ago when I took the board over, I did have somebody introduce, matter of fact, Senator Barfoot introduced legislation to change it where it would not be just the Assisted Living Association, because as far as the association and members of assisted living administrators, probably only 50% of assisted living administrators that are licensed in the state of Alabama, and there's over 700 of those, are not members of that association. Okay. And then another thing I just want to talk about that y'all brought up to your attention was complaints, and the board saying that there was not resolved complaints. If you look on page 11 of the Sunset Report, the board had 1 complaint filed in the fiscal year of 2024 that was initiated by the Alabama Department of Public Health. They have an assisted living division. They have, after they go in and do an inspection at a facility, if they see deficiencies, then they will file a complaint and they'll send it to us. Other than that, we have consumers or family members that call in that complain about an administrator, and then we can do a complaint. Those are how that's how complaints work. Anyway, that complaint was resolved by the board in the year of fiscal 2025, 110 business days after we had receipt of this, and that licensee went on a suspension for 6 months, and he paid $5,000 to the board. So I just wanted to let y'all know that that actually did occur. Okay. That was solved. Some things you'd like to say? And one thing, since 2020, since we took over this, and one thing that Ms. Benefield thought was very important for the board was to update our website, and if you'd like to talk about that.
So it was not good, you know. So now it's very similar to the Board of Nursing's website. So if you're an administrator, you can upload your CEUs. It'll calculate it for you, and it's just much more user friendly. And there's a lot of resources available for administrators. It was more like one of those early '90s websites, and so now it was something that we felt like we needed to do for the administrators, because before that they were having to calculate their own CEUs, and now it does it for them and keeps that record for about 10 years on file. So we're really proud of that.
Just one more other point of information about this board I'd like to mention to y'all since we took it over. When people come in and they take their test for Section A and Section B, whether they're a regular assisted living administrator or a Cat 2, and Cat 2 means they do dementia and Alzheimer's, and I would say probably 70% do dementia and Alzheimer's because there's such a need for that in the state of Alabama. One thing that we've prided ourselves on doing, they come in and they take the test that day, we get them graded that day, and we swear them in, and they have their certificate and their card, and they walk out the door with it. Prior to that, it would be sometimes 2 weeks before they got that. So I just felt like it's really important when these administrators take a test, they're nervous, they've been in training for 4 straight days in our building, and for them to go out knowing that they passed successfully and they can now be an administrator in a facility across the state, because it's been a tough business to keep people in this industry with what happened in COVID.
Okay. All right, do you have any other board members here?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry here. My vice chairman is here, Miss Sandy Sorrells Bracken. She is, her brother happens to be Jeff Sorrells, who's a legislative member of your House members. Sandy, and she lives in Madison and works for the cottages. We have Miss Rebecca Dennis. Rebecca Dennis is from Billingsley, Alabama, and she runs the East Chase facility here in Montgomery, Alabama. And then I also have with us our legal counsel, James Sasser, who's originally from Ozark, here with us today. And then I don't have any of my, most of my other members. Oh, excuse me, Sally Sasser. Oh, there's Sally. She's here. She is our representative from the Alabama Nursing Home Association, and she's from Mr. Carnley's district down there, and she's from Brantley, Alabama.
Okay. Welcome.
And
Glad you're here.
And I would say, we used to have somebody, Mr. Stimson, from Mobile, Roger Cooper. He rolled off our board 3 years ago from Mobile.
I saw that you have someone from Brantley, so I'm satisfied that you got somebody from South Alabama.
And we have a great working board, and we do have 2 new consumers, but one of the consumers is from down in South Alabama, Pansy, which is in Houston County, and she really works on the Florida line, and she's a nurse practitioner and couldn't be here. And we also have a doctor from the Alabama Medical Association who's here, a chronic pain doctor who could not be here as well.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right, members, questions? Representative Wilcox.
The assisted living administrators has a per member cost of $249.13. Is there some explanation behind why that would be so high?
The dollar figures and the fees have been the same for many years. When I took this board over in 2020, we have not raised any fees. It is labor intensive in the fact that we actually still do paper testing. They have to come take Section A, they take a review class, they have to pay for that, and then, you know, their lodging, they have to come here for a week for full training. We haven't increased fees at all for this board, but it is labor intensive, and, you know, they have to be qualified, and they have to have all this training in order to run a facility and to follow the rules of the Alabama Department of Public Health, and it's pretty intense. But Jill may can answer more of that, given that she's been in the process longer and is an administrator.
I mean, also there's the application and all the papers that go with it. We do review all those, which I go through with a very fine tooth comb because I want to make sure everything is accurate. It's confusing because you have to be of a certain age, but you have to have so much experience in this. And if you don't, then you have to go through an internship, which is 240 hours. So, you know, it can look confusing, so it's very important for the vice chair and I, along with the executive director, to review that. And it can take me easily, you know, an hour or more. And you got to remember how many applicants we have in every quarter that are applying for this. And then there's the background check as well. And so there's just a lot of components that go into just getting your initial license.
Thank you. And like I said, your week's worth of training might be a larger cost than some other agencies have to incur with their licensees. And maybe your annual update of your website might have figured into that. But thank you so much, and y'all do important work. I know we're the generation that we're taking care of our parents, and I have many friends with parents in memory care units. So Thank you so much for your dedication to that industry.
Any other questions from members? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Austin.
Thank you.
Okay, we're to the Behavior Analyst Licensing Board. Is there anyone here from the Behavior Analyst Licensing Board? Okay, all right. Little bit of a traffic jam there, okay. All right, if anyone is going to be testifying, please come up and put your hand on the Bible for the oath. Okay, raise your right hand, please.
Do we have more than one? Are you going to be, y'all come? He's asking y'all to all come up at once. and then-
Join me, please.
Yeah, if anybody's going to be testifying, let's just do this one time if we can. Thank you.
Do you all swear that the statement you're about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank y'all.
All right. Please proceed, introduce yourself and any members of the board that are here.
Hi, I'm Lauren Elliott. I am a licensed behavior analyst, and I'm acting as the interim chairperson at the moment.
Okay.
I'm Ashley Nichols. I'm legal counsel for the Alabama Department of Mental Health.
Thank you.
Eric Gromit, board member, licensed behavior analyst, but I'm also the licensed psychologist member on the board.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Collier Tynes Dixon, Chief of Staff, Alabama Department of Mental Health.
Thank you. All right, please proceed. Don't everybody go at once.
If members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I understand that there were some questions as to the relationship between the Alabama Department of Mental Health and the Behavior Analyst Licensure Board, and whether or not the department had been able to meet the requirements of the most recent legislation. So I think we can address that certainly. The most recent legislation that, as you know, that was passed put greater responsibility on the Department of Mental Health to provide services for the department in the way of IT services, staffing services, equipment and supplies, and office space. All of those things have been done. The most recent was the staffing, and that there was some delay in adding that staff member because they went through the interview process, as I understand, multiple times to find the most appropriate ASA that they could for the board. One was actually located and hired in May of this year. That gave the board somebody to answer the phones and respond to emails immediately, which had been an issue, as was talked about yesterday, because prior to that, they had no staff. This was a board that was operated by individuals who all worked other jobs full time, and they were able to check the emails and voicemail as time allowed, and sometimes it would take a few days to get back with those asking questions. So this was a big step forward and something that we had been advocating for and hoping for a long time. So the Department of Mental Health stepped up and did that, and so there is an office, dedicated office space, and basically they've got them in a position where no one should go without having a question answered or someone returning their call that day. Were there any other outstanding issues with regard to the relationship with the Alabama Department of Mental Health that I can answer?
Well, we'll get to committee member questions in just a moment, but I know one major concern we had was the amount of time it took to contact someone to get records. And that's, I think, something that you want to address before we get to committee questions, so.
I can certainly address that. Are you referring to the time it took from the examiners asking for information?
Yes.
Okay.
And if that's if the examiners has that hard a time, what's the public? What are your licensees? I mean, what does that say about how quick they can get contacted?
Well, I think I can explain that as well. As you know, if you've been through the audit process, there are a great litany of things that are requested. A lot of that information doesn't readily exist; it has to be created. Unfortunately, the timing was very bad for the board because they did not have that staff member when the audit began. She had just been hired. So she really didn't understand anything about the process. The chair of the board had just resigned. 2 of the board members had dropped off the board. So when trying to gather that information, it was a little bit of a challenge to find who can put that together and where would it exist. And so that was essentially what happened, that we had to contact older members or members who had dropped off to say, where's the best place for us to find this? It was all electronic. No members had taken anything with them. Everything was cloud-based, saved, but it was a matter of finding that information so that the documents could be put together in a fashion that was acceptable to the examiners. So, to my knowledge, all of that was provided, and there was lots of communication with the examiners.
All right, I would highly recommend, because other boards have faced similar situations without quite the difficulty that was had with this particular board. So I would highly encourage you to put together a procedures manual so that you have this multiple factors as you did with dropping off the board and all at any particular time, that someone can pick the manual up and at least have an idea where to start. Do y'all have any other testimony today?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for your time, and thank you to the examiner for developing this report. I wanted to let you know that this is now at the commissioner's office's level. Our leadership team reviewed this report this month, and we reviewed it and said, we've got to fix this now. So in your packets, you have a corrective action plan from the Alabama Department of Mental Health. That corrective action plan consists of 3 major categories. One is policy and procedures. We need to have all these things written down so that we don't run into these issues again, so that no matter how many transitions happen, somebody can pick up a manual and know exactly what to do. The second is staffing. We put a lot on that administrative assistant. It's very clear that this board needs an executive director. After review of the board's budget, we do believe that there is enough to have a part-time retired state employee serve as an executive director with a shared administrative assistant to make sure that these things flow well and are coordinated. As Ashley said, we did provide those financial, legal, and eventually administrative support services, but it really needs to have somebody who's coordinating that effort. So that staffing plan is going to be very important, along with the training. So once the policies and procedures are in place, having everyone trained so that we know exactly who's on first, and what to do to make sure that the public gets their licenses quickly and they're renewed efficiently as well. I'm a licensed master social worker. I understand the importance of having a licensure board that is going to quickly renew my license. So we are fully aware of how important this board is and its function, because we're focused on, we have until November 28th to get this corrective action plan done. That's the deadline we set for the ABA board. We are focused on making sure that children and families receive the ABA therapy they need. And in order to do that, you have to have licensed qualified providers. So I just wanted to let y'all know and reassure you, this is now at the commissioner's level, and we will be reviewing this progress at every leadership meeting from now until November when these things get in place.
Thank you. Committee members' questions. Senator Elliott.
Collier, thank you. Guys, y'all heard that? Like, hey, we own this. This is a problem. We're going to fix this. We're going to do this. Here's our action plan. Here's a deadline. Not excuses, not it's somebody else's fault, not blaming it on the governor, not anything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be the first to let you know when we need to improve, and we need to improve on this.
Listen, there are problems. It happens. It is what it is. But like, hey, we realize it. Let's own it, right? This is why it happened. It's gonna fix. Here's our plan for fixing it. Here's the date we're gonna fix it by. This is an important board. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate what you do. But gosh, I can go home now. I feel so much better. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, but
We don't often get Senator Elliott don't often get excited in a positive way. It's usually the other way. So we appreciate you for bringing that out in him.
I'm going to be the skunk at the garden party.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a year too late for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I recognized this 2 years ago and that past chairman of the board. So I am glad that y'all are seeing it, but I am brokenhearted that it took this to get you to that point. But just like them, I'm going to go ahead and cheer that y'all are there.
Me as well.
And I know that y'all have a big mission. We've got a lot of mental health issues, so I'm giving grace. But I really want to see these deadlines, and I'm going to vote that we bring them back just so that we can check and make sure that y'all live up to what you've stated here today.
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to recognize, if y'all know my latest thing on your sheet, they are only spending $1.36 per member.
That's a curve buster.
$973 was their expenditures. God bless y'all. There's no shock that a lot of stuff couldn't happen on that budget. And, for the mission that they do, I'm glad that you gave your talk, because my number one question was, I was going to echo Gavan's yesterday. How can we do without this board if they can't do what they need to do? So are you committed that this board is needed, that this doesn't need to be sunsetted?
I am committed. Yes, ma'am.
And the mental health, all the top staff are committed to supporting this board so that they can complete their mission.
We are supporting this board so that they can complete their mission.
Because that past chair, I have no idea how he did it. I was so upset for him 2 years ago when I realized what he was trying to do after he worked his 40-hour week in a behavior facility. It was an impossible, untenable situation.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you.
And just like that, the excitement's gone. Representative Simpson.
I do want to commend you as well for what y'all are doing. I'm going to be consistent. I've been hitting on this for a couple of years, so I'm going to hit it again. When your board leaves, if your board had 5 members that were all here today, 2 of them are taking 85 North and the other 3 are taking 65 North. I would love to see some geographic diversity on these boards of having somebody from the south end of the state represent one of the 717 licensees that y'all have.
Yes, sir.
Any other members? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have the Massage Therapy Board. And if anyone that is going to be speaking or testifying, please come up to be sworn in.
Y'all gonna be speaking?
We might.
Okay.
All right, just put your hand on the Bible and raise your right hand.
And if you can't get your hand on the Bible, at least raise your right hand.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you swear that the statements you're about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. I've looked forward to this opportunity to see all of you and discuss massage therapy since the Board of Nursing took them over in July of 2024. So how can I help you today?
All right, we're here to hear your testimony, and you've introduced your board as here, that are here, and then anything related to the Sunset Report that you want to comment on first, you have this opportunity. And if there's not anything you want to comment to, then we'll just go to committee questions then.
Okay. We have Jessica White, she's our chair, and Tom Henderson, if you two will may not be stand. He's our vice chair for the board today.
Okay.
And then I have numerous staff that are with me here.
All right. All right, any opening comments, or you just want us to go to committee questions?
I believe yesterday at the work session, there was a couple questions. One was how we could do something about the APOS certification and our investigations. We've had our attorney, Ms. Henley, to do some research last night, and we shared that with Mr. Simpson. And I think what we've decided, if we could get this board recognized as a professional board, then we would be able to share more of our investigative notes with legal services and the police departments across the state. So we think that might be an easy fix, but we're still going to vet that further. But we shared that information with him earlier.
Okay.
Second thing I think that came up yesterday was related to trafficking for our trafficking education for our two members who serve as the ad members at large. One is a nurse who's had more than 20 years experience, and a lot of that in the emergency room, so we felt like she was qualified. We've had some education for our board members on human trafficking, and we think that we can satisfy that concern by having some more orientation and having the Federation come down and doing a day-long orientation and education related to all board members on human trafficking. So then not only do we make these two ad members at large, but have everyone have the same education and the training. So we think that that could meet that need that you had concerns of yesterday.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask Representative Simpson if he would comment on the information that's provided to him.
So this morning I had a chance to meet with him and talk about some of the requests from kind of find a middle ground between Representative Wilcox and where we were instead of giving police powers. One of the things the current code allows for the disclosure of investigative reports, including the testimony of law enforcement officers, to a state administrative agency authorized by law to investigate or conduct administrative contested cases in any matter related to the suspension, revocation, or restriction of a professional license. Long story short, what that means is other agencies, other boards have that ability already to be able to get their law enforcement to come tell them about what's going on through there. They, for some reason, they believe that the massage therapy licenses are not listed as a professional license, and therefore they don't have that same ability as others would have. So the resolution would be just for the purpose of, for law enforcement, for license clarification, we would allow the massage therapy license board to be considered that, to like with the other boards, so they can have the same access to records as the other boards would have. So I think it's a pretty, I don't think it's done, but I think we have a good pathway forward to get the answer without giving police powers over to anybody.
All right.
And we'll work
Thank you,
toward
sir.
that.
All right. Committee members, questions? Representative Pringle?
I want to get back to your membership, because it says, one at-large member shall have extensive knowledge of sex trafficking and related law enforcement efforts to defeat sex trafficking. I'm glad to hear y'all have a nurse in there. The problem is the speaker makes an appointment and the lieutenant governor make an appointment. And there's really no way for them to coordinate it. So we're going to kind of talk about maybe making sure one of them is responsible for making sure that appointment's made. Does that make sense, Honor?
Yes, sir. We discussed that very thing.
Yeah.
And I think one thing.
Closer.
Sorry, I think one thing we need to remember is this board leaves the nursing board on in October 1 of 26 if we don't do something. So we're going to have to do a more comprehensive bill than the sunset bill to figure out where this board is headed.
in this session. So we may need to address, if we want to address that in sunset, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
If you want to address it in the more comprehensive bill, we might do that.
Listen, y'all nursing board got stuck with this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we all understand, y'all got stuck with this problem. We need to help figure out a way to fix the problem. And I want to make sure we get the appointments right, but I also have to figure out a way to come up with a board that can support itself.
Yes, sir.
Because it's not y'all's responsibility to subsidize, a parasitic board. Best way to put it. If they're not making their own money, they need to do something in order to be able to afford to support themselves independently and free of y'all. I know there have been a lot of problems, and I think y'all have done as best of a job as you can trying to work all this out. And I know everybody's frustrated on every side of this, but we're going to get through this. We're going to straighten it out. And I want to work with y'all to clarify that way, because I think it's very important. I think sex trafficking is a huge problem. And somebody called some of these a massage therapy parlor. I said, it's not a massage therapy parlor. It is something else. It's a brothel. Yes. And there's a big difference between the two. And unfortunately for y'all, you get painted with the same brush. So, we want to make sure we have a way for the licensing board to work with law enforcement to shut down the illegal activity in this state. So,
I'll happily work with you on those.
yeah, I know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Elliott.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Representative Pringle, as I often find myself doing. I'm going to ask a little bit more pointed question. Y'all got stuck with this. We told you you're going to handle this. Thank you. Do you want to continue to?
No.
Thank you.
I'm just being honest. The Board of Nursing, they would not want to continue this.
Thank you, Ms.
It's
Benson.
not just me.
I appreciate your candor.
Representative Wilcox.
That's usually the compliment I get. I appreciate your candor. That's about most everybody.
Yes,
can do.
I do appreciate your candor, and God bless you for the work that y'all have done. I do want to note that this massage therapy board only spends $81.74 per member. So based on what they've done, and I think that y'all have been quasi-supporting them.
We have.
I'm not going to go so far as to call it a parasitic board, but that might be appropriate. Is this a labor-intensive thing to handle? I mean, I know you answered quite quickly and quite clearly, but is it because it's more labor-intensive than, say, your nurses in your nurses board?
It's more labor intensive. The phone calls, we're averaging probably several hundred a week. You have a lot of licensees who don't speak English. They need a lot of support when they do their applications. They come by a lot. We have a lot of investigations that are currently going on. We do meet with local law enforcement across the state. We make them aware when we have complaints related to trafficking or prostitution. Even though we're not able to get those records, we will sit in the car, our staff will sit in the car outside while the raids are going on, because we feel that strongly about the trafficking. We are seeing what we think are movements of trying to come into Alabama from traffickers. We're not certain, we can't prove it yet. But those things cause an intensive review by my legal staff, by my education staff, and by the investigative staff. So yes, they are very labor intensive.
And if I could continue, I know that you're contemplating your retirement.
I am.
I know that you have had a stellar reputation in our state.
Thank you.
And that you have been personally attacked over your efforts that we thrust upon you.
Yes.
So I want to apologize, and if you and your staff were not file folder full, and I won't go into it because I'm sure some of y'all know, and if you don't, I'll share the file with you. I apologize. The legislature did this to you, and I'm sure that if you and your staff had not been personally attacked, like you were, I don't know what the end result was other than a firm no that you don't want to do this anymore. So I want to apologize. I want everyone here to know that I think that you do have a stellar reputation.
Thank you.
And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you so much.
we've appreciated being able to serve the state in this capacity, and we thank you for all the support. And as I said in my letter to you, without the agencies and other agencies reaching out and helping us this year, I don't know that we would have been quite as successful as we were.
Sometimes when you run a good board, you get to straighten out some other issues sometimes. So I started to say congratulations or condolences. I'm not sure which, but we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Senator Gavan.
I would say, and I think Representative Wilcox kind of hit on this, but we've talked about two boards here today, massage therapy and behavior analysts, that have very low, basically per licensee expenditures, but that, and I don't think we need to spend the accounting time to properly allocate, but there are things, because they're embedded, whether it's parasitic or what, they're embedded in another organization, and they're not accounting for these costs in terms of rent, benefits, salaries, and things of that nature. And I'm not saying we need to focus on spending that time, but it is a little misleading on those low numbers, I think.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other committee members?
When do y'all expect to be separate?
The statute says October 1 of 2026. So, we would be
1 year.
1 year. We would be more than willing to start working on an exit strategy, because I think that's what it's going to take in order to turn it over and have it be transitioned correctly. There is a cost. This board cannot afford to stand alone. I want to be sure everybody knows that. They cannot afford to stand alone. So I don't know what the plan is long-term, but we need to be thinking about those kind of things.
Representative Underwood.
Yeah, mine's more of a clarification point, I guess. It's on page 14, we did get some financial information of the 22, 23, and 23, 24 years. And it's just not typical to see a revenue stream where a third or a fourth of the entire revenue is coming from fines and fees, penalties basically. And I'm not saying that those were not warranted, but it's just a little unusually of a high, dispensation there. And either the license fees are out of whack, or anyway, I'm just guarding against an incentive on those fines and stuff. And since I've mentioned it to other boards, I just feel like I need to mention it here as well.
Well, I think that's a good point, because since we took this board over in -- I don't think we've collected more than $60,000. I don't even think it's $60,000 in fees for discipline and things like that.
That came down
Oh, yes,
the second year.
because
yeah.
this was the prior board is numbers that you're looking at. The Board of Nursing and the Board of Massage Therapy does not focus on fines to run its mission and to do its work to protect the public. It has never been in our goal or our auspices to do that. We just do what we have to do and move forward.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that 9 months of this audit is the previous administrator.
Well said.
All right. Any other questions from committee members? All right. Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
A public hearing has been called on this, and we have two speakers, Ms. Christy Williams and Ms. Cynthia Crone. If you would come forward, and we'll swear both of you in at the same time, and then we will start from there. So if you would place your hand on the Bible and raise your right hand.
Hey, sorry, Holly had emailed Marie Moore that is here too and said that she was going to be on there to speak today. Did that not?
I don't have her. Is Marie Moore here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any objections to allowing her to speak as well? Seeing none, come on up, Ms. Moore. All right, please raise your hand.
Do you swear that the statements you're about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I do.
All right. We'll start with Ms. Williams, and ladies, these remarks will be, they're no longer than 3 minutes. Committee members may have questions for you after the fact, but let's be punctual. Thank you. All right, Ms. Williams.
Okay, so of all people, I know firsthand the mess that this administration inherited. I was the one that pushed to sunset the former board because of the mess. I was excited and supportive and even helped write the law used as a response in these significant findings. Progress has been made, but issues remain. Our board needs intensive APA training. On page 9, you see an unlawful rule that was corrected under the law that I helped write. But what you don't see is for 7 months until that law passed, applications were denied and delayed and subject to late fees if this rule wasn't followed. We have an unlawful rule in place now that has bulldozed my colleagues into noncompliance. Unless Legislative Council revokes this rule, we're going to be forced to follow it too. I know it's unlawful because I wrote the statute that it supersedes and confirmed the intent with LSA before its passage. Not only was one board member listed as unlicensed in this review, 2 others were working illegally for months with an expired establishment. When I reported this, I was investigated for the first time in 14 years. Without finding, of course, because I wrote the law and I follow it. I was denied public comment during the only comment period for rules because I didn't give a 14-day request for a meeting that was only published for 8 days. That meeting lasted 17 minutes, and I was accused of wanting special treatment to speak on the rule. We have 3,100 licensees and an 85% renewal rate. But last week, the administration told our board to budget $500,000 for combined salaries and benefits, while we're lucky if we get $270,000. We only have 2 members here today because they were told it wasn't necessary for them to be here today, but they could be. The governor's attorney told me they have no authority over this board, so who does? Massage therapists are frustrated, as you can see on page 7. We're overregulated. Emergency rules increased our fees 650%, but now it's down to 400%, but overnight with no warning. Lack of fiscal accountability should not constitute an emergency for a workforce. Hey, I'm thankful for this transition, and I am thankful for this board, but I will not support unlawful rules. We are professionals, and those who aren't are criminals. And it's time for lawmakers to separate us from this narrative in our statute and in our fees. Thank you.
All right. Let's see, any questions for Ms. Williams? Seeing none. The next speaker.
Let me ask a quick question of Chris.
Okay, go ahead.
You and I have spent a lot of time talking. Are y'all comfortable with 1 year from now being independent?
We can't afford to be independent. And, you know, if the state of Alabama requires that we have a license, the state of Alabama needs to pay for that staff.
Well,
I can't even afford the benefits that they're telling us we got to pay for.
so that becomes an inherent problem. We give these licensure boards, and this is kind of the issue that comes up. These licensure boards, not Darcy anyway, I hear this all the time. It's our money, it's our money, it's our money. No, it's not your money. We gave you as a legislative body the ability to tax people. And their license fees are nothing but a tax. It's the taxpayers' money. It's public money, and you have a fiduciary responsibility to be transparent. You know, if you want to have a professional licensure board, that board has to sustain itself. You know, that's just cold, cruel reality. If your profession can't sustain its own licensure board, we've got a problem. Because I know the nursing board inherited this problem. They don't want it. We don't want to really give it to them because we want them regulating nurses. I don't know the way out of it. If you can't sustain yourself, you're probably just going to have to raise your licensing fees. Go ahead.
And I'm okay. Let me be very clear. When we took the fees out of this last statute, you know, I had to give the green light on this bill. Senator Elliott sponsored it and co-sponsored it with Senator Gudger. When those fees came out to be set by rule, I am okay with licensure fees increasing. What I'm not okay with is going to sleep on Tuesday and then waking up on Wednesday with a 650% increase. And that all comes down to the emergency rule filing and how that needs to be handled properly. However, I will say this. If you'll look at the finances on that board, I was in this board meeting last Wednesday. And if you will look at the finances that are right there, the max you're going to see there is $270,000. They were told that they need $500,000 to operate. We weren't even paying Keith Warren that much.
So all this goes back to Warren management.
Yes, and I argued against that Board of Adjustment that you see on that page.
Yeah, I know.
And so that put us in the red.
So once again, we're back to Smith, Warren and Associates.
Correct.
How many boards have they done this to? Do we know? I mean, I'm constantly reading they've got financial problems, mismanagement, and it all goes back to their contract with, Smith, Warren and Associates. So, I mean, you've got a problem because you've got a board, and I would love for y'all to run your own board and not rely on the nursing home because there's an inherent, nursing board, I'm sorry. That way, all the problems y'all own. And let's get it to where y'all run your own profession, just like the nurses, board runs the nursing and medical, everybody else. So I think y'all are going to have to do some soul searching and find a way to, whether you want to contract out to a professional agency, but we got to get you out of the nursing. I mean, it's just not fair to them. I think they probably spend way too much time. Go ahead.
I agree with that,
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But you've got a problem with massage therapists now that over the last 5 to 6 years, like I said, we're an 85% renewal rate. Okay, that's it. That's all that's renewing. The reason that is because we are tired of being lumped in with sex trafficking. We aren't considered professionals. So we are sick of the narrative that comes along with it. And you guys need to be looking into how, if somebody can't speak English and they're calling this board, how are they passing the test?
That's the reason I want y'all to take it over.
Right.
Because I remember, didn't Steve McMillan pass the massage therapy licensure board? Wasn't it Steve? You probably wasn't born.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right. Representative, you didn't, or was it answered?
I don't have a question other than an observation that not every state regulates massage therapy when we look at whether we need to sunset a board. So I'd just like to put that out there. I think you have the book that outlines that. Do you remember how many states do or don't? Yeah, I think we need to look into how many states actually do regulate it and otherwise consider that.
All right. Our next speaker is Ms. Crone. If you would come up, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to talk about a foundational principle of our profession is do no harm. The simple maxim applies not only to our clients, but also how we operate as an industry. We are at a crossroads, and our path forward must be guided by 3 core values: accountability, holding ourselves and our peers to the highest ethical standards; camaraderie, supporting one another, sharing knowledge, and lifting each other up; transparency, operating with integrity in plain view so there are no shadows for misconduct. This brings us to the economic reality of our field. For many, a career in massage begins at a big box establishment with the promise of steady clients, but the financial model often favors the company, not the practitioner. For a $75 session, a therapist might take home as little as $25, while a solo practitioner can earn it all. This system incentivizes low pay and high volume expectations, which leads to burnout and a diminished quality of care. We need to challenge this system. We can advocate for the sliding scale fee for establishment licenses, which would make it financially feasible for every therapist to start their own practice. We can also explore innovative models like massage business cooperatives, where multiple practitioners share a space and a single license, significantly lowering overhead. Our profession's integrity is our most valuable asset. It is our responsibility to ensure every massage therapist has a comprehensive understanding of ethics, boundaries, and communicable disease prevention. These are not just guidelines. They must be a standard part of our education and our ongoing professional development. By focusing on these core professional standards, we ensure our industry is a safe and trusted haven for clients. Our role is to uphold these standards, strengthening our community and protecting its reputation. The future of massage therapy is one where ethical practice is the norm, where every practitioner has the opportunity to build a successful career, and where we all work together to protect our profession's integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Crum. Ms. Moore?
Good morning. Let me start by saying thank you to all of you for the work and effort that you put into correcting our board, Chrissy included, because it was an absolute mess. And I am grateful for the improvements. However, it is still kind of a mess. I have three main concerns, and now less than 3 minutes to voice them, so let me get started. Number one, massage therapy is not sex trafficking. And over-regulating our whole occupation does nothing to stop it. With all of the new hoops and everything, the only thing that has really changed is the burden placed on legitimate massage therapists. We are still having illicit businesses getting busted, even as little as 2 weeks after renewing their establishment license under the new board with the new hoops. We have law enforcement agencies, special programs, and task force all working to bring down sex trafficking. Yet our board is hardly ever, if ever, listed as an agency that helped bring them down. Which brings me to number two, the establishment licenses. They are supposedly here to protect the consumer, but how does it protect them more than the regulation of massage therapy in general? If the business owner is not a massage therapist, I can understand the need for it. But if the owner is, they're already regulated. So another license seems excessive and also drives up the cost of operating the board. When a simple online registration with the board would provide the same protection to the public. I have been in business now in Madison for over 3 years and have never once had an inspection at my business. And I have renewed under the new board. Now I'm expected to pay 400% more for no more protection for the public than my massage license provides. And that brings me to number three, the lack of communication, transparency, and accountability with our new board and its members. They removed the public listing of violations and punishments. And I can't help but wonder, is that to hide their own personal records of it, considering that half of the members were in violation when they took their positions? How about posting meetings 8 days prior and then denying our request to speak because we didn't give a 14-day notice? How were we supposed to give 14 days if we didn't know about it 14 days ahead of time? This is our careers. We should be allowed to voice our concerns about it. That is all.
All right. Representative?
Not all states regulate massage therapy. Those that don't rely upon the city and the county to set the standards for their own cities and counties.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be in favor of deregulating your entire industry and let it go to the individual city and counties?
If the option is to deregulate or overregulate, I would be in favor of deregulating.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee members? No. Anybody that's talked to you, call them up and say what you think you want.
I feel like I might have a disconnect on the financial. So Dixie, this may be me and you on this. On page 14, I've already referred to that a few minutes ago. The licensing fees for 1 year's $209,000, the next year's $169,000. So my divider number may be incorrect, but I'm showing 3,126 licensees. Some of those may be facilities and not people. Okay, so when I divide that out, that's only like $54, and it's just not really making sense to me how these work. So I don't think I'm dividing by the right number, am I?
So
Well, you would have to consider how much it costs to be a massage therapist and then how much the establishment is and do that for each one of the fees that are there. But now keep in mind that the law changed 3 times and the fees were affected each time. So there's going to be a fluctuation in how much is coming in, and that's also going to be timing of when money comes in based on when they're renewing the license and when the fees have changed.
What is the fees, the license fees? And I know I'm hitting you on that, off without any prep time.
You want the current fees?
Yeah, current. What is the current fees for
So-
the individuals and the facility?
Currently, the board has an emergency rule in place that was adopted on the last one that was sent to LSA for fees. It is $150 for the initial massage therapist license.
Okay.
It is $125 for a biannual license renewal, $350 for an initial, and $250 for a renewal of a massage therapy license.
The biannual renewal, you said it's 125?
Yes.
So that's for every 2 years?
Yes.
60 a year? Yeah, okay.
$250 for an initial registration and any renewal registration as a massage therapy school. $100 to register and renew registration as a massage therapy instructor in the state. $175 to reactivate an expired license. $30 for a duplicate license, certificate, or a name change. And then they have some public records fees also.
How much was the facility again?
The establishment licenses
yeah.
in this rule are $350 for an initial and $250 for any renewal of a massage therapy establishment license.
That's per year?
Let me see when they,
So it's 125 a year? Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions from members? All right. Moving on now to the Board of Pharmacy. Anyone that's going to testify during the Board of Pharmacy, please come up and put your hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. And then we have a public hearing on this afterwards as well. Just the 2 of you? Or 3 of you? All right.
Do you swear that the statements you're about to give the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Gary Mountain. I thank you for the privilege to come and speak to you today, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I do have with me my Vice President, Dr. Tommy Cobb, and Johnny Buckley, you just see, Brandon Hicks, and we got our counsel, Jennifer Newman. Also have Dr. Alverson back here. We have Casey Shaw, investigator, and I think we have Glenn Wells, investigator, and then our new executive secretary, as John Lena, is here, but he's only been here just 2 or 3 days, so we didn't want to put him in this situation. But anyway, I want to go ahead and get started with some of the things and your concerns that you have and see if I can shed some light on them, and then whatever you need us to do going forward, we'll be happy to do. The Executive Order 726 on board funds. Our statute requires that the board funds remain in the custody, according to how it's written, of the board treasurer. This conflicted with the governor's executive order requiring funds to be held in the state treasury. And like other independent boards, we reached an agreement with the governor's office. And so the governor granted us an exemption, and we do have that letter. But we are committed, so we work with them to see what it will look like. So we're committed to publish on our website, and be transparent about our financials. And so we work with them to get exactly what they wanted on the website. And so we do have that now. And if you need copies or something, we can get those to you. The former executive secretary resignation was a concern. And on the day in question, we went into an executive session with the Attorney General's office being in discussion with us, looking at options of that and pending litigation that we had and legal risks and the character of other replacements we had coming before to replace her. Mrs. Yateman had her own attorney, and negotiations were necessary to protect the board, to protect us from that potential payout, or to minimize it. The board did not vote on the settlement itself, but authorized 2 members to negotiate, and that was Dr. Cobb and I negotiating with her in parameters. A case number was assigned because there were no final settlements at that time, and pending litigation was still, like I said, attached in this manner. The resignation did become effective January 31st, 2025. An emergency appointment was then needed and was required to keep our office going, to pay bills, to do everything that we needed to do, to sign orders, whatever it was, we had to have one. By negotiating a settlement, the board avoided potential lawsuit with Ms. Yateman. We had just renewed her contract in December, and so we had then January here, we're asking for resignation. And the letter in concern on January 31st, a letter should have said the negotiations began on January 22nd, not that an agreement was reached. That was my fault. I wrote the letter and I sent the letter through the AG's office, but the date was my fault. It should have, and the way it was stated should have said that. So that's all on me. None of the other board members had anything to do with that. Rules on non-disciplinary fees. So in the emergency rule, non-disciplinary penalties were not public. Based on committee feedback, the board will make these public in the final rule. We wanted to do it in the emergency rule, but LSA said that we could not at this time do that. It was not a good idea. HR oversight. To address historic issues with employee payouts, the board has assigned HR oversight, or we're working on assigning duties to our current chief investigator to help us. He's well versed in all those and has a lot of certificates regarding HR issues. So we want to bring him in to kind of look at that and help us with making sure we're doing the right thing. We're doing payouts and stuff and not missing anything. Payroll has now managed by a licensed supervisor with accuracy double checks by 2 additional members of the management team. We are transitioning to a new payroll company that will provide additional safeguards and controls to further ensure our accuracy of those issues. On our survey results, we value all the comments that we get. To reduce our red tape, we worked actively to do that as directed by the governor. Recent rule changes were aimed to making pharmacy practice easier in Alabama. We did have 135 surveys that came back, and we do value all of them, but that we wish that we could get more and more and get better, because the only way you can get better is to know where you're failing a little bit. But that's like 1%, though, of our licensees and permit holders. HB 123 compliance. Rules are in process to ensure compliance. We continue to work on those. Enforcement and licensing are handled by separate counsel, as was recommended by the HB 123 and the committee. Preparing for the addition of 4 new members. So we have our 4 new members starting in January. So we're preparing for all that. Deferral agreements. Last deferral approved July 16th, 2024. On July 17th, 2024, the examiner's office raised these concerns, so no deferrals have been entered into since. The board is currently under procurement, and so we use that venue to actually get our supplies and different things, which do cost us a little more sometimes, and that's an issue we'd like to bring the committee to look at if possible. Fines and settlements. In 2024, fines increased due to settlement activity in 2023. So as I said, after the 2024, we didn't do any more deferrals. The breakdown was 2024, top 5 cases around accounted for 33% of fines. And these were some manufacturers and different things that happen out there. 2025, 1 case represents 67% of the fines. So from October 1st to 2024 to present, disciplinary fines issued is less than $50,000, so we are listening and we hear you. I think there was some concern about geographic diversity, and we are all about diversity. We do worry that that may lock some specific practice representation to one location, but we are all about diversity. Yes.
Let's stop you there. I'm showing you got 5 board members.
Currently, yes.
Currently, 3 of them are from Auburn.
Correct.
1 of them's from Dadeville, which is about 30 minutes outside Auburn, and you have 1 from Mount Olive.
Correct.
You've got 3 new board members coming in January, you said, correct?
We have 4.
4 new board members.
Plus my position, I roll off in December.
Okay, where are these new board members from?
Well, they're currently, I don't know the demographics of that because they were appointed through APA, ALSHP, and they sent those to the appropriate appointers. So I'm not sure.
So,
Do you know the demographics?
I don't know the demographics because I don't know all of the people that have been nominated.
Okay.
We have associations, the 2 associations have provided names to Senate Pro Tem, Speaker of the House, the Governor's Office. And those appointments will occur from there. And we don't really have any input on it from that. What gives us diversity, not so much from a demographic standpoint, which I understand, is the diversity of practice site, because it's very hard. I don't run an independent pharmacy, and most of my board members don't run a hospital. So if we had all of one type of practice site being represented, it becomes very hard to then figure out or have an expert there that can give an opinion on a rule or any of those kind of things. So
See, I hear what you're saying, but your actions don't follow that. The reason why I'm telling your actions don't follow that is because you've got 32,940 licensees, according to this report. Of the 32,940 licensees, you can't find but 1 person outside of Auburn, Alabama, or 30 minutes from Auburn, Alabama, to serve on the board. Like that just does not make sense. I'm missing it. I'm computing something that is just not there. Of when you say we support geographic diversity, and yes, it means something to us. You don't have a record of doing that.
well, just to be clear, we don't submit names. Our association does, and our society does. So
Is there anybody from your association here or your society here?
I don't know if we have anybody from either.
So we're going with the empty chair defense. So if it's not our fault, it's somebody else that has the appointment to go through this.
No, sir. We would love to be more involved in it, but we try to stay hands off on those.
Yeah, I will say that. I have always recommended for diversity, but our LSHP and ASAPA actually do all the interviews and appointees for the board. I think, if you want me to continue?
Yes.
Okay. For the salaries, I know there was a concern about June salaries being a little escalated there, but that's due to June. Our APA and LSHP actually have their meetings in that month, and so we are asked to speak at those, and we attend those for speaking. And so that's 2 meetings we go to. And we also had our committee started to do our search for our new executive secretary, which that met, and we have a couple of board members that were on that committee. And we also met to do some, I think we had an extra meeting that month as well for going through some of our appearances and other litigation things we're working on. Y'all have questions for us?
And I would like to say that when we look at salaries, if we look at the month of July and August, that's more representative of what our standard is. July or June is usually our biggest month because we're trying to get to all of the venues to meet with and to provide presentations to the association and the society.
Okay, now we will we'll open it up to the committees.
Before they step down, I do have a question, Mr. Chairman, when you're ready.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Why was Ms. Yeatman going to sue y'all?
Well, the question is because the answer is because in December we just renewed her contract. And so she felt it would be wrongful dismissal maybe, but even though I know we're an at-will state, but she had a lawyer poised and ready, I can tell you that.
And while we understand from Chairman that there may have been some calls from this committee, we were not in possession of any 4 calls. And so that is what gave us concern. And in addition to the fact that we had active litigation at that time that involved her.
So you were going to remove the secretary, and at last year's Sunset Committee meeting, you heard what was said. You saw the findings. So, there's a question of who's not doing their job, and it's, and then you renew her contract after Sunset Committee meeting in December. That doesn't speak well for your.
I can see where you're going with that. And we did because we thought for some reason in our mind, and this is me talking for me, that it was kind of settled and everything was okay at that point. And I didn't realize myself it was. But when I became president, in January, I realized we got to move some things, and that's when we started. Yes, sir.
Wow. Y'all were at Sunset Committee meeting last year, and that's all that you got out of it?
No. Well, personally, I was not able to make it due to a work problem, but I do understand what happened. Yes, sir.
Okay. Representative Pringle.
What other litigation was pending she was involved in?
A case involving Billy East,
Involving who?
a pharmacist, Billy East.
What was that case about?
It was about a pharmacist who had had an infraction come before the board, had a revocation, a rehearing. There was an investigation by the Attorney General's office after a complaint that he was given back his license. Our attorney, former attorney of 40-something years, had his DAG removed. And at that point in time, they investigated our attorney and Ms. Yeatman and found that she had done nothing wrong, that this was on the attorney. Now, if you
So
ask,
the attorney did it wrong.
that is what we were told. Now, I will tell you, we have asked what exactly, since he was our attorney, was the infraction. We have not been told. And so that was a case from him against all of us, the board, and Ms. Yeatman.
Who told you that?
Who told us?
Who told you that it was not the secretary, that it was the attorney?
That was the Attorney General's investigation.
Okay.
Because it was
Attorney
reported
General
out to us.
Yes, the Attorney General did an investigation, and they came back with their findings.
So the Attorney General's office is the one that gave you that information?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So Tara Hetzel has replaced your DAG appointment.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Because that attorney was a DAG, did he work for the Attorney General? That person worked for the Attorney General?
correct.
Well, he was under contract with us, but had a DAG.
Yeah, okay. That's,
Ms. Hetzel's back there.
yeah, because you can't, okay. So he was a private attorney you had a contract with, and he received the standard DAG appointment.
Yes, sir.
And his DAG was revoked.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Senator Gavan.
This is actually a question for Dixie. Are the board members confirmed by the Senate for this group? That may have to change.
No, sir. I don't believe so, no. They are not.
I looked at that.
Senator Elliott.
Senator Gavan, I had the same question. They're not, but they do serve at the will of the appointing authority.
All right. Any other committee member questions?
I want to talk about your emergency,
I'll go down and get you.
Gary, go ahead. I want to talk about your emergency rules of August of this year. What was the emergency?
Well, to be specific, we have not processed any of the cases or issues that we've had since really this time last year, once we were told that we didn't have the authority and we would need to wait on 123, House Bill 123, to then clear up some of these issues, late licenses, those kind of things. So what we were trying to do with the emergency is go ahead and get people who had cases pending or fines, if you will, or fees that would be administrative fees that would be issued under that rule, so we can go ahead and start getting those cleared up, because people have been waiting for a resolution.
So y'all just self-declared an emergency?
One of the reasons that we wanted to do this and do it in a hurry was to try to impress you all, as it was the deadline was for January 1, and we said if we can do this early and show them that we're working hard to move things forward, that's what we thought we were doing, and that's what we did.
Didn't work.
No.
Y'all's membership detests y'all, and I'm tired of getting phone calls about y'all, and for y'all to go into emergency session and pass these emergency rules that are questionable as whether they comply with the law or not, just flies in my face. Because unfortunately, y'all are smart enough to know that if you do it under an emergency, then legislative council can't get to it and overturn it. I will be bringing legislation to address this, and it's not just y'all, it's other people in this next session, because I'm tired of these licensure boards just deciding, oh, this is an emergency, so we're going to circumvent the whole process. We're going to circumvent the legislature, the Sunset Committee, legislative council, and everybody else, and do whatever we want to do by self-declaring an emergency and just going off and doing it.
That was not our intent by any stretch. And we understand, we only understand that there's one part of that does not meet the law, and that we take full responsibility for. The actual fines and so forth follow the law. We had a long conversation with the Attorney General's office at our last meeting to make sure every I was dotted and T was crossed. We wanted to change that one part that is not in compliance with Alabama law, and it was suggested to us not to do that because it looks like you're just trying to extend it. And they said, just do it in your permanent rules to get it right. And so that's what we agreed to do, or that's what we've talked about.
You got 4 lawyers, 4 on the payroll, and you can't write rules that comply with the law. So, you're going to have to eventually come before the council eventually, or the legislature's going to deal with it. And it's not just y'all, so I'm venting on y'all because you happen to be standing here, but I am sick and tired of these licensure boards and agencies self-declaring emergencies so they can do whatever they want to do and completely ignore us.
We were not trying to circumvent you at all. That was not our intent at all.
Well, you just caught the vent. Sorry.
We literally were just trying to go ahead and start clearing cases that we had pending and issues we had pending so we could get resolution.
Yeah, if I remember right, many of them were over 7 months.
Yeah.
Over 7 months waiting. And that can affect your licensees' insurance, a lot of things when they go to fill that out. I'm in a profession that has to list if you've got anything pending when you renew, and it does affect their premium, your licensee's premium, when there's inaction.
We didn't want to address it before sunset last time, right before sunset, because we thought if you addressed it, we didn't want to be like we were slapping you in the face. So we held off on those cases, particularly so that we wouldn't be in non-compliance with whatever you stated in that.
Okay. Representative Underwood.
I have another question, but just to tie into this one. You're saying that on all these emergency rules, which I've not studied them all yet, that there's only one issue that doesn't line up to the statute. Is that correct? There's only one?
As far as we know.
To the best of our knowledge, the issue is whether or not the administrative, non-disciplinary fines, fees, would be public record or not. And so in the original, it was not public record. We've heard from y'all and y'all want it to be made public record.
Right, yeah.
So we've made that change. We're making that change in the permanent rule. Again, we tried to make it in the emergency rule and LSA said no.
Okay. So, and I'm sure that's from your legal, you're getting that stuff, because I'm not an attorney either, so I have to rely on my legal too. My question is on the responses to the significant issues, and I don't really have a page number on this. It's your responses at the very bottom. In this significant issue 3, not complying with Open Meetings Act, regarding the separation. And so I read all the significant issues, and then I do go to the bottom to see the board response to that. And so basically this was where the examiner just said that your reasons for being executive session doesn't comply with the law, and the board action comes back and you say that we were in compliance. So in other words, the examiner was wrong on significant issue 3. I just want a clarification from y'all that's where you're at with that position.
We're not saying the examiner is wrong. What we're trying to do is provide you the context of why we did what we did. Yes. We did not have an agreement on the 22nd.
Okay, because it says it was appropriately handled. That's why I was saying.
Well, we may have done it wrong, but we thought we were doing it within correct because of the legal aspects of it.
Okay.
But we could have done it wrong, absolutely. We're not saying anybody's wrong. We completely agree. We take that one.
Okay. I do have a second issue, but I'll wait and come back around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Thank you very much for that.
your explanation with that, and then you got 4 attorneys, and couldn't figure that out. Some of you we know better than others. Representatives.
I'm sorry, but the timing here just does not make sense to me. If you can't help me through this, when did you declare the emergency?
On the emergency rule?
Yep.
I don't know that we declared an emergency. We were trying to get a rule done so we could go ahead and get all these cases that had been pending for months.
How long were they pending?
How many?
How long were they pending? 7, 8 months?
7, 8 months.
Okay. My question with that, because that's the catch that got me, because if they were pending for 7 or 8 months, how do you keep hiring the same girl in December and give her a new contract and say she hasn't done anything wrong, and then you fire her and give her this lawsuit, this lump sum? You're saying you can't find findings of anything she did wrong, so you paid her this large sum, but you've had to declare an emergency because you've got a 7-month backlog of claiming cases. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Okay, well, let me try to clarify a little bit of that for you.
Tell me where I'm wrong. Don't change my message. Just tell me what the message I just said. Tell me where I'm wrong in that statement.
Okay. The reason we had a backlog was not because of anything anybody in the office did. After we met with the examiner's office and were told that our process they did not like, and we needed to come up with rules for administrative, non-disciplinary fines or
Who makes
fees.
the process that they didn't like?
We had a process that had been in place for years.
Okay, so it's not the administrative. So who did it? If you're telling me it had nothing to do with the administrative, who did it?
I mean, it was there when I got there, sir.
Okay.
But I can tell you that the process, we had been through previous sunsets without issue with regards to this. Then we had this sunset. We were told that we needed to change our process. So we stopped processing and waited on House Bill 123 to get done. So we made sure that whatever we did going forward complied with your wishes.
You came to Sunset in July of last year, so July, August, September, summer of last year.
Yes, sir.
Were you here?
Yes, sir.
Did you watch that?
Yes, sir.
And after you watched that, you thought we needed to hire the same executive director again?
I did because I saw a lot of activity to try to correct the problems that were wrong.
Okay. But that activity did not include these investigations because you put them on hold till December.
Again, we as a board decided that we did not want to move forward with any of these things until we could get what was going to be in House Bill 123 so that we could process going forward. We needed to make sure that we were in compliance with the legislation we were going to receive.
Yeah, House 123, the bill was passed early on, so I get the reference of wanting to make sure there, but
It was my
the
understanding.
dates aren't with what you're saying. That doesn't match.
The provision in there about what we addressed in the emergency rules were to go into effect in January of '26.
That's right.
So all those backlog of cases had nothing to do with staffing. It was waiting on those rules, and we thought if we passed the emergency rules that were going to be passed in January of '26, if we did that early, and we could start processing those cases early.
Y'all didn't consider the fact that it would go around the legislative committee, the council, or the contract committee, or any of that stuff? That never was discussed?
Certainly not of our
Absolutely
intent.
not.
Okay, the Board of Examiners was mentioned in that. Ms. Dixie, is there any response you want to make to any of those comments?
Our general counsel can speak to the issues with the executive sessions if you'd like him to.
That would be fantastic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Polk with the Examiners of Public Accounts. As to the Open Meetings Act violations, I can absolutely, with 100% certainty, to say that it was not handled correctly. If you look at the significant issue, number 3, they have a direct quote from the minutes which took place. You have 9 reasons that you can go to the executive session under the Open Meetings Act. They state that the reason is, I quote, to discuss, number 1, pending litigation, 2, the reputation and job duties of these individuals regulated and employed by the board. Now, while you can go into executive session to discuss litigation, Section 36-25A7, A3 states, you cannot discuss which action you're going to take. You can only lay out what the litigation is, what the allegations are. If you look at their actual vote, there was a unanimous passed a motion to take the recommended action. The only way there was a recommended action was that what action they were going to take was discussed in the executive session. And so that's one reason why it wasn't handled correctly. The second reason it wasn't handled correctly is because they said they were also going in to discuss job duties. Job performance can be discussed in the executive session for certain individuals, but not for Ms. Yateman. The reason why is because she's required to file a statement of economic interest with Ethics Commission. So two of the reasons that were given to go into executive session were unlawful in this particular situation.
Any questions for him? Okay, so we've got 4 attorneys, and none of them, that's pretty common knowledge, easy to look up, information's fairly easy to find. Will that be a correct statement?
Yes, sir. It's in the Alabama Code on the legislature's website. Google it anywhere you want to.
Marty, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Committee members, other questions? Comments?
Do we have a public hearing on this?
Yes.
I'll wait till that. Thank you.
I'd just like to note that out of this board, they have 32,940 members that they regulate at about $153.46 apiece. Is this a labor-intensive regulation that causes?
Yes, ma'am. We have a lot of entities that we regulate that are outside the state. We have inside the state, we have individuals, we have entities, we have businesses. So, and there's a lot of complexity around pharmacy, particularly when we talk about the USP 797, USP 800, 795 codes, and we have to employ experts in all of those to try to make sure that what's coming into the state is handled appropriately and made appropriately, and also what's being made within the state and the conditions that they're being made in, stored in, housed in, are being done appropriately.
And what are the other federal agencies that you have to interact with?
FDA and DEA.
Step up to the mic, please.
FDA and DEA, both, and there may be more. OSHA.
USDA as well?
I don't know about USDA now.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. So we've had a number of conversations about various attorneys involved, and we've heard from the examiner's attorney. And I had requested the AG's office to be here today that the board works with, or a representative from them. So do we have they gotten here yet? They are. Okay. Would you, we would like for you to come up and give your comments on some of the things that have been said, and the dialogue between that may have gone on between the pharmacy board.
Certainly, thank you. Brad Shanawith from the Attorney General's office. I would like to address the Open Meetings Act finding. So just so that we're clear, because this is an issue of overarching importance to our office as it relates to our ability to give privileged and confidential legal counsel to boards and commissions. So the finding says that there are 2 problems with convening the executive session. So we certainly agree that you could not convene an executive session to discuss the, quote, job performance of Ms. Yateman. That was unavailable as a basis for an executive session. However, separately and independently of that, there is the executive session to discuss pending or threatened litigation. And I think that from what we've heard today from our board members who testified previously, that situation was applicable. So I think what it would be helpful to discuss is maybe the scope of what would be permissible to discuss in a pending litigation executive session. So it is very important for us, not just with respect to this board, but with respect to all boards, to be able to give confidential, privileged legal advice to our board and commission clients, because we need to be candid with them about the risk they may be facing. And so long as the subject matter of that executive session does not go into discussing the job performance of someone required to file a statement of economic interest, we believe that that would be proper. In other words, are you staying within the bounds of the pending litigation basis for convening the executive session? And so the board cannot deliberate in an executive session. We agree with that. I believe that an attorney could make a recommendation as to legal matters within that. Again, the board members cannot deliberate within the meaning of the act, and of course the deliberation and the vote would then have to take place in the open session after the executive session. But I would like to say, as a general matter, I'm not going to talk about this situation specifically, but you may have a high-level employee who threatens a lawsuit, and it is important for attorneys in our office to be able to address the risks in a candid way with our board and commission clients so that they can make informed decisions when they reconvene in open session. It would really impair our ability to give legal advice if this were interpreted too narrowly.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Just
Senator
a
Elliott.
quick comment, and I can appreciate where you're coming from, and I think I would say this. A properly called executive session can become improper in the executive session.
That is correct.
At that point, in my estimation, it is council's responsibility to get things back on track real quick.
And Senator Elliott, no one from our office was present at that meeting. We were not involved. I do not know what was said in the executive session, so I am advocating for the general ability to convene pending. I agree with your statements, and I have no knowledge on what was done or said.
Fair enough. For the other general counsels out there to boards, when you have what you think is a properly called executive session, it is your duty to keep that executive session in bounds of the call.
Agreed.
All right, thank you, sir. We're going to move into the public hearing now. And we have 4 that have requested to address the committee. And as I call your name, please come up and place your hand on the Bible and to be sworn in. Joseph Krebs, Christy Williams. Ms. Williams, you don't have to be sworn in again. You've already been sworn in. Rhonda Lacey and Deidre Atkinson. So if you would raise your hands and put your hand on the Bible. Do you swear that the statements you are about to give to the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. At this time, we will go ahead and start our public hearing. And Mr. Krebs, you've got 3 minutes, sir.
I'm going to time it right here if that's okay. So I hit the 3 minutes.
Yes, sir, 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, after the last sunset hearing, this board proposed rules to allow conduct you had just cited. By December, they backed SB 28 to legalize similar practices. On August 20th, 2025, this board adopted emergency rules that directly violate the new act that you passed last session. That law caps late fees at $10.25 per month. Additional penalties are specifically prohibited. This board's unlawful emergency rules ignore the statutory cap. They omit ranges, they fail to separate civil penalties from administrative fines, and lump all license types together, creating confusion. All of this happened under the watch of their lawyers, paid hundreds of thousands a year. I sat down with a board member twice for hours to explain this law, and still this board moved forward with these unlawful emergency rules. Emergency rules take effect immediately with no oversight. Did this board scramble to settle a large number of cases quickly under unlawful rules? How much unlawful fine money has been collected since August 20th? For months, reconciliation reports have shown large transfers from board reserves. Was this board so desperate for money that it broke the law with emergency rules to get it? They also tried to bypass public records law to hide their plan, a repeat of last year's deferral scheme that the board blamed on their previous lawyer of 40 years. This board conducts regular business on days noticed only for hearings. That's how both the interim and permanent executive secretaries were decided, off-stream, with no public deliberation or discussion, predetermined in secret. Board members and the Pharmacy Association CEO have publicly attacked oversight. These recordings are available. In April, one board member publicly called the Sunset Bill HB 123 so bad, atrocious, and sad. In June, another stated publicly, "We made the public examiner's office not happy with us. They didn't like us. And if something minor showed up, and if we argued that, they added 2 more issues." The CEO of the Alabama Pharmacy Association stated publicly that she thinks it is a crime that board seats are now appointed instead of elected. Why should any association have control over a single board seat? Pharmacists remain terrified to speak publicly against their own board for fear of retaliation. This board, its lawyers and staff were given a second chance, a golden opportunity for reform. They squandered their chance. They refused to follow the law. They hide from transparency. Revenue, salaries, and benefits remain the priority. Alabama citizens, and especially our pharmacists, deserve far better. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the members for Mr. Krebs?
Let me ask you. Thank you. The former secretary, Ms. Yateman, where did she come from? Was she a previous board member?
She was. She ran for a board seat initially, did not get elected, and then Governor Bentley, I believe it was, appointed her in 2014. And then she was a board member from 2014 until probably, I think 2017, and I think she started as the executive secretary September of 2017 or 18, one of those two.
So she started as a board member and was friends with all the members of the board, so they hired her to be the executive director.
Right, and there were some issues, obviously, that came up related to that, you know, we presented those issues to the authorities and they ignored them.
So after the debacle last year in front of this committee, her contract was renewed by her friends.
Exactly.
And then they went into an illegal executive session where they illegally conducted business and illegally arrived at a solution to use taxpayers' money to buy her silence. Is that pretty much just they put about $300,000 of other people's money in her pocket to let their friend go away.
That's correct, Representative Pringle. You know, in pharmacists, you know, I get calls from pharmacists all the time, and they're mad because, you know, this board is essentially spending their money to essentially pay her off. And, you know, it's like I've, you know, said in the past, I don't know what she knows or, you know, who she's close to. I don't know why they paid her off, but, you know, obviously it's not proper. Pharmacists are upset about it, and, you know, it's just not appropriate for that to be occurring in our state. And you know, the places that I have gone to raise these issues, they don't care.
Well, the pharmacists are scared of the board.
Exactly.
All right. And let's just get down, and I'm going to bring the Attorney General's office back into this. I'm sick and tired of licensor boards using taxpayers' money to buy people off, buy their silence. And I've had licensor boards stand before me and say, well, we use taxpayers' money to buy people's silence illegally based on the ruling of the Attorney General's office gave us permission to use money illegally to sign non-disclosure agreements. So I'm tired of it. It's not their money. It's the taxpayers' money, and I'm tired of them using that money to buy the silence of their former employees in order to avoid litigation over the stuff they've done that's not right. Anyway.
That's correct. And you know, I've raised issues with the Attorney General's office about, you know, counsel for this board. And, you know, I have gotten no significant information about, you know, anything that they're planning to do, and eventually they just stopped responding to me.
Okay, Mr. Simpson.
I 100% agree with Representative Pringle here. My problem with this whole day, let me just say with the beginning of the day, is when the pharmacy board shows up and they can't tell anybody to answer any questions because that person's not here or, oh, I wasn't there. The only person that's been here and every chance to answer any questions and that has any kind of documentation of what they're talking about, that, hey, the buck stops here, is you. So we don't have a choice but to, like, when you start measuring somebody who's telling the truth through this process, who's the person that shows up and answer questions and doesn't just put an empty chair up here and say, well, I can't answer that because I wasn't in the room at that time, or, oh, we thought everything went well. I wasn't in that Sunset Committee meeting. To have the continuous point the finger of somebody that's not here versus what you just said and the manner you just said is a night and day appearance of what's really going on.
Well, and I think that's a good point, and I think it's important for the committee to understand as well. You know, when I spoke on August 22nd last year at the Sunset hearing, within probably about a month later, these board members who are sitting here filed a bar complaint against me. You know, and, you know, that doesn't bother me, but, you know, it just goes to show you, I mean, they stood up here in August of last year and said they don't retaliate, but they did. I spoke in the House committee, I think it was in February. The next day, this board sent an investigator to a pharmacy of my cousin. And the last question the investigator asked my cousin was, how are you related to this Krebs attorney in Birmingham? You know, and that, you know, for them to stand up here and say they don't retaliate is just, it's just not true. And something has to be done because it's like I've said before, it's a culture thing there. And until everyone there is removed, and I know that's a scary thought, but I mean, it's a culture thing, and you cannot clear this culture out without clearing all the people out. And that's a big ask, but, you know.
Okay. All right. Any other committee member questions at this time before we go to our next speaker? All right. Thank you, Mr. Kraft.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Atkinson, if you would. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of committee, my name is Deidre Atkinson, and I worked for disgraced previous board counsel for 17 years. This is one of the reasons why I quit my job. Mr. Krebs and I took this issue to the Attorney General's office. It really didn't go very well, didn't go anywhere. We went to the governor's office. Again, didn't go anywhere. So finally, we came to the money place, and that's got us here today. So thank you very much. So I was here and spoke at the first Sunset Committee about this issue. And then I was here when this committee instructed the board that they needed to hire a different executive secretary. I also watched the board's January 22nd live stream where they went into executive session. They were gone for a few hours, came back, read some case numbers into the record, and then they adjourned the meeting. There was no discussion, there was no deliberation. Come to find out, that was the meeting that Ms. Yateman was allegedly allowed to resign to pursue other opportunities, according to Facebook. That post was quickly deleted. A case number had been generated for this matter so that it did not evidently have to be discussed in public. Under ALA code, which Mr. Polk has just talked about, that was illegal. A charge letter, the settlement agreement that was entered into for roughly $300,000, roughly. $150,000 settlement from her buddies on the board, and then $105,000 in leave. Charge letter was referenced in that settlement agreement, and it has been requested, but the board has never provided it. I emailed the governor's attorney about her approval of this settlement agreement, and the response I got was she reluctantly signed it to avoid any kind of claims that kind of thing. My thought is, if Donnie Yateman was fired by this committee, what kind of claims would she have? And that would also be her burden to prove. But I digress. I'm glad that y'all mentioned transparency, because the transparency problems go a lot further. The disciplinary actions are not published. Financial collections are hidden. License lookups omit final orders. Meetings are live streamed, but they are not archived. And the minutes are vague and not full summaries. In addition, investigators have also violated Act 2025-372 that was effective May 14th.
Ma'am, you're at your 3-minute mark. If you would, give you about 15 seconds to
Oh,
close
thank
up.
you. It restricts random unannounced investigations, yet in June alone, 106 unlawful inspections were done. August 29th, the Pharmacy Association changed its rules, its bylaws, to allow expulsion for speaking against the pharmacy, including board members. Silence is now enforced and dissent is punishable. Pharmacists are afraid to speak out. They stood here last year and promised reform. It's not happened. I urge you, don't give them another chance. The people of Alabama are watching. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the members? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next speaker, Ms. Rhonda Lacey.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, I'm here to shed light on the fear of practitioners and the reality of retaliation. I've not had an opportunity to speak before this committee before because of pending charges, and not a fear, but an absolute knowledge that if I speak out, additional charges that are pointless, that are non-meritorious, will be filed against me. And as an attorney and a pharmacist that has worked 30 years in trying to advocate for the profession, protect the profession, and also bridge a gap between the profession and the Board of Pharmacy, this should be considered horrific. Because if they will do this to me, what has an average practitioner to fear? In August of 2023, I was provided information that gave me great pause for concern, that indicated that Donnie Yateman and other members had been engaged in what I believed and still believe were illegal and unethical activities. I personally delivered that information to the then board president, Rob Colburn. I did it with heavy heart, knowing that I was putting myself in danger, knowing that I was putting my job in danger, because if they retaliated, I was going to step up and have to tell my employer. I provided that information to the board, and instead of going to the Attorney General, instead of launching an internal investigation, I had bar grievances filed against me. One from the Board of Pharmacy and a grievance filed by their former attorney that they obviously had to have spoken with and provided confidential information to a terminated employee. It took over a year for an extensive time, pressure, loss of, what I refer to as life squares, in addition to extensive sums paid in attorney's fee. I am not questioning my attorneys. I think people should be paid for what they're worth. This is where it gets a little crazy, and if you didn't live through it, it's very hard to believe. When those charges were not, when that was dismissed, when there was no finding against me for violating any of the board rules, stop for a second and realize at this time, it's not important, it's important to know my time frame. I underwent back-to-back knee surgeries in an effort to try to save my left leg, trying to get this settled, a total of three surgeries. When those charges that were filed against me by the board,
Ma'am, you're out of time, but I'll give you about 15 seconds to close
when
it.
those charges were when there was no fruition to that, when I went to renew my pharmacy license, I was given 12 hours. I need you to hear that. 12 hours for an audit. As I am struggling, they don't know I'm struggling from anything. Our statutory rules provide for 30 days. That was an additional shot over the bow to say, we're still watching you. They also have the authority to log into profiles and confirm my continuing education hours. But yet, as an additional gouge to show we're still watching you,
Okay.
that's what this committee did. That's what this board did.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
Any questions from members? Seeing none, we'll move on to our last speaker.
Thank you.
Ms. Christy Williams, reminder, you have 3 minutes.
Start now. Okay. So as you know, last session, I advocated for less association involvement in this board because it was heavy association. We accomplished a good bit of that, but we obviously need more because they're the ones appointing people to the board and they're not meeting geographical diversity and all those things. But on September 5th, I spoke with board member Johnny Brooklier, I told him there were still ongoing severe issues with this agency. His response to me was that he trusted his legal counsel and other administration. I asked him if the legal counsel had ever brought up the law while they were in a meeting so they could compare the rules to the law they were making, and he told me no. So it comes as no surprise to me that these board members were compensated for non-official board business less than a month after the new law went into effect. You specifically removed that in the May 14th when it was effective. They haven't educated this board on what official board business is, and that's a quorum, deliberation, and a vote, right? We all know that. So they were paid $500 a day for expenses, convention fees, while being, their legal counsel supported it all, continuing education, all those things. They were paid $24,500 in the month of June and $14,000 for out-of-state travel. They were paid for student interviews that they did alone. On May 14th, lawmakers spoke with the signature from the governor, but it appears these board members either do not care or this legal counsel needs to be removed. Finally, let's not forget that the board treasurer, as we speak at this moment, is on a continuing education cruise with APA. We need to investigate and make sure she's not being paid for that cruise like she has been this whole time.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? Hearing none. All right, that concludes. All right.
For Dixie, and I'm sorry, I think it's from this chart here. Dixie, how much has the pharmacy board paid in attorney's fees?
The pharmacy board, this is in fiscal year '24, for the 2 attorneys under contract. They paid $270,923.89. According to their financial records, $239,138 was paid to their general counsel, and then $31,785 was paid to an attorney that they have hired for specific litigation.
So let me just get this. Carrie's my numbers guy, so I'm just going to have to rely on him here. You've got an interim executive secretary making $130,000 plus $5,000 a month, which is $190,000 a year. You have a general contract with an attorney for one of them making $239,000 a year, and then you have another one that made $31,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the report that we got today. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for bad legal advice. You know, I'm going to go back to the Attorney General's office. Y'all might want to do some remedial education on some of these attorneys. Because, I mean, there's some bad legal advice being given. And people are blaming y'all for it. So I'm just going to caution you. And it's not just the pharmacy board. I've heard this several times from other boards where they have broken the law and said they did it under advice of counsel with the approval of the Attorney General's office. So we need to address it.
All right. And I will say on this, the law that Representative Underwood and I worked on last year that's in place now, I think will help with some of those, provided the board does what they need to do. But I have to say, I quit counting at just over 100 calls that I received from pharmacists from the northern part of the state. They were geographically placed, sir, all the way to the Bay, on issues. The same themes, the same messages kept coming up. The fear was undeniable. In the bill that we worked on last year together, it was by making some changes in that, we hope that that will help with some of this. And then we've had a number of different meetings with the board and other people that are interested in this. A lot of time, but when you've got that many of the licensees that have concerns, and there's a renewing theme, so it's not like somebody rallied the troops, because it was easy to tell a lot of these people didn't even have a clue who the other ones were. So there's a lot of smoke there to that fire. All right, moving on to our last. Well, we'll adjourn the public hearing. So you've got comment on before we go to our next board?
Yes, please.
Okay.
If we can,
Please go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman. Thank you. Jason, this question may be for you, and I don't know the answer. Can this body get copies of the complaint, whatever investigatory documents exist in relation to Mr. Krepp's relative?
Senator Elliott, I have to look into that. I don't know what information would be available or that we could actually obtain, and I'd want to look at that.
Yeah, at least I.
For our department, we have specific statutory authority to look at that stuff and keep that confidential. I don't know about extending that past us. We look at complaint files ourselves. So we could potentially investigate it and report to you what we see without maybe giving you the specific
That's
documents.
fine. I'd like for you to do that. I'd also like to look at any of these bar complaints that were made by the board.
Okay.
I want to look at those, or I want you all to look at those and see what, dig down, look through some emails and see what you can find, because
That's what we do for a
yes,
living.
ma'am, I am well aware. I'm well aware. Because there's some serious allegations that have been made about retaliation here, and if we've got a board acting in that manner, then we need to know about it. We need to know about it. And Mr. Chairman, if you would indulge me, and I'm sorry, members, but is the former executive director of this board in the audience? Do I see her out there? No? Yeah.
Former interim.
You're the former. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chairman, if you will indulge me, I just would like to ask her a question or two if she's willing. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Mr.
Let's
Chairman?
do it. Let's get to the point though and get it moving.
I understand. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
And we'll need to swear in right quick.
Sorry, Margie.
No problem. Hand on the Bible. Right hand up, left hand on the Bible. Do you swear that the statements you're about to give the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Representative Wilcox, and thank you for agreeing to answer some questions. And if you want to run away and I not answer them, then I certainly would understand. So you were the interim executive director of the Pharmacy Board for a short period of time, right?
Yes, sir.
And you left.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us why and what you see as the problem if you feel comfortable doing that? You've been around this business for a long time.
I have.
You and I have talked about this a long time ago when you came on board. You said, hey, we're going to get this back in order. But you were there, you left. Why?
It's difficult to tell you without bringing other people's names involved. I'm glad to talk to all of you, very glad, but.
Okay. I put you on the spot. I told you if you weren't comfortable, you didn't have to, and I can certainly understand that. Would you make an effort to make yourself available to members that are interested in?
I will stay here as long as you want today.
I would encourage members to talk to this. I haven't spoken to you in probably a year.
Right.
Since you started on the board. But there's a reason that nice lady who knows what she's doing isn't there anymore.
She is there. She's back to her original position.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Fair point. Thank you. Thank
Can I
you.
make one comment?
Yes, ma'am.
We keep talking about taxpayer dollars that we use. We don't get a cent at all from anything that's related to taxes.
Okay.
Just,
Excuse me.
I would.
Do you not charge a fee to your licensees?
sir, I'm not saying,
Does the board charge a fee to the people who practice pharmacy in the state of Alabama?
yes, sir.
That is a tax. They have to pay that whether they want to or not in order to practice that. That is a tax levied by that board. It is taxpayers' money. Just because you don't get an appropriation, we give you the authority to tax.
Well, all right. Thank you, ma'am.
sir.
And I would submit, I understand what you're saying, but I would submit those are taxpayers that are licensees. So,
I totally understand that. I just wanted to be sure
yes,
that all
ma'am.
of your members understood.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we'll move forward now to the next board. Feel like we probably needed more time there, but we spent a lot of time, and I think we're getting to the same thing. So we'll move on to the Board of Electrical Contractors. Anyone that is going to speak, if you would, put your hand on the Bible to be sworn. All right, we have one. Go ahead, Margie.
Do you swear that the statements you're about to give the Sunset Committee in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, sir, I know that you've been here waiting for a considerable amount of time. So hit those points, hit them hard, just the bullet points, what we really need to know.
Okay, I'm Jeff Beecraft. I am the Executive Director for the Alabama Board of Heating, Air Conditioning, and Refrigeration Contractors, and I'm also the Acting Executive Director for the Alabama Board of Electrical Contractors. Today, we have all 9 of our board members here. I'm gonna read them by district. I have them all back here. In the 1st Congressional District in Mobile, we have Michael Wilson. Theo Blunt is in the 2nd Congressional District, also in Mobile. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and send it. Mr. Blunt. David Smith in the 3rd Congressional District. He is from Irondale. David Carpenter, who is the chairman of the board. He is from Florence, Alabama. Greg Koger, who is the vice chairman of the board. He is from Huntsville. Anthony Nixon is in the 6th Congressional District. I'm sorry, Mr. Koger is in the 5th, and Mr. Carpenter is in the 4th. Anthony Nixon's in the 6th Congressional District. He's from Calera. And John Britton is in the 7th Congressional District and is from Graysville. We have 2 at-large seats. Mr. Frankie Tubbs, he's from Muscle Shoals, and Matthew Dudley, he is from Trussville. I also have the current chairman of our board of the Heating and Air, Eddie Harper. I have the attorney for the Heating and Air Board, Ellen Leonard, and the attorney for the Electrical Board, Tara Hetzel.
Let me, before you get started, we want to thank you for coming here because some of you came for a very long way today, and you're the last on the docket. So we appreciate you sticking with us and the sacrifices you made to be here today. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So we came to the work session yesterday, and there was a couple questions that I had written down that you guys had specific to the employees of the board. At the time that the audit was started, first of all, the board is under an interagency agreement with the Heating and Air Conditioning Board. That agreement went into effect on June 1st. They were previously with the General Contractors Board, and prior to that, they were with Smith Moore Management Company. So when the board came over in June, they did only have 1 employee. They now have 5. They have 3 compliance officers that work in the field. They have 2 that work in the office. You had some questions about the state vehicles. The compliance officers are using their vehicles. The Heating and Air Board never used their vehicles. They have complied with the executive order to report the vehicles and have a policy in place for those vehicles. The significant issue number 1 regarding the checks being deposited in a timely manner, that has been cleared up. But at the time when the board came over, we deposited about $132,000 that week that had not been deposited prior to them coming over. There was some extenuating circumstances with the other agency, but that has all been cleared up. I'm trying to think what else you guys mentioned yesterday. You know, the board had some questionable rules and regulations that were in place. That has been, or is in the process of being rectified. We filed to propose new rules on the 20th of August, and they will be published this month, at the end of the month. But I wasn't sure what else you wanted to hear from me, so I'll just let you ask, please.
All right. Members of the committee, questions? Representative?
Yeah, y'all are just another horror story of Smith Warren and Associates, and I apologize. But I do want to commend y'all for your work to clean that mess up that you inherited.
Thank you. My staff, the heating and air staff kind of jumped in to get it up to date, and now the electrical board staff has it.
I know, I really kind of like this arrangement because, you know, y'all kind of dovetail a little bit together and understand each other's needs and problems. You know, because I commend you for what you're doing to straighten out the mess y'all inherited a couple years ago.
Thank you.
Senator Elliott?
I'm going to follow that and say thank you to your HVAC board as well, Eddie, and your board members. I appreciate y'all being willing to take on this. And so thank you, and thanks to the new electrical board members that are all here. You know, got a mess on your hands, and it's getting better. So thank you, but I want to make sure your board knew they got to approve that. And
Some of them are watching right now, too.
Well, to y'all, to others than just Eddie, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Any other committee comments, Representative Wilcox?
I noticed that you have 5,376 electrical contractors, and divided that into the operating costs, it's about $165.80 per member. Do you anticipate, I know this is all prior to you taking over, so I'm assuming, do you anticipate those costs going down, going up, or staying stagnant?
Some of those are journeymen. I don't know what the exact number is between the two of them right off the top of my head. So at some point when the board, right now they're operating out of our office, the Heating and Air Board's office. At some point when they have to, you know, obtain their own office space and, you know, hire some more compliance officers and more office staff, because they do need their own accountant, or at least part-time accountant, they need some more coverage throughout the state for compliance. The cost for the board will go up, and we'll revisit that at the time. But as of right now, they don't have plans to raise the fees as of right now.
Okay, we do applaud the sharing of costs to bring costs down to both your HVAC and your electrical. We don't want them to be parasitic to the HVAC
They're
board.
They're not. They pay the board. We in the interagency agreement, they pay the Heating and Air Board $14,500 a month. And like I said, when they came over, they only had one employee. But now the employees that they have are their employees with their budget.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
All right. Any other? Representative Underwood?
Appreciate your folks. I know I'm dittoing what's already been said, and the HVAC electrical contractors, y'all's profession is very important to us right now with our state growth. So continue doing what you're doing. I understand issues that we've had have been mostly administrative. Senator Elliott mentioned that earlier. The only one I want to bring up is on 7, where we encumbered $103,000, and then the next fiscal year was only 56. Let's try to get those numbers closer together. That's all I got.
We're working on that now. Right
Yeah.
now, we obviously have a Board of Adjustments claims against us from Smith Warren Management Company, so we have to encumber that money.
Is that? Gotcha. That's what that is.
Some of that
I understand.
that we have encumbered right now.
Well, then you did the right thing. Yeah, I understand that. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
It's always good when you can come up and say, hey, everything's going great. We're doing what you said. We get it all worked out.
I appreciate it.
All right. And, all right. Well, members, we're going to adjourn this meeting and take lunch, and then we'll be back for the business meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I told him to stay back.